righty, everyone is muted. So Don, what are we going to talk about tonight?
We're going to talk about troubleshooting your beehives. I'm down here in South Georgia, and I was putting cells in, and I'll tell you one thing I found out down here in open sun. If the dark colored hives, I'm having comb fall. It just absolutely fall. It's 95 degrees outside, and we was putting our shop in. So in the morning, I was pouring concrete, finishing concrete, and after 1 o'clock, I was out working bees. And I just came in, and we got the shop laid out now. It's 32 by 36. We got our 6,000 gallon tank sitting in the front yard, and as soon as we can, we're going to move that over. And we will probably sell to students or people that's on the chat on a regular basis. We will probably sell syrup to them. And we're going to buy it by the tanker load. So basically it's a big investment, but by buying in volume like that, I think we can save us money and save other people money. Right now it's a big investment for us. That tank is a 6,000 gallon tank, and it was almost $6 grand outlay on that. So it's going to take a year or two to recoup that. And I have never seen concrete go so high. We just paid $143 a yard for concrete. But the nice thing about where we're at is we went down to get a building permit, and they said, don't need one unless you put electrical in there. You get an electrical permit. So we're going to use it as a storage building, and maybe eventually the wiring will just kind of end up showing up there. We'll have a long extension cord, number 8 wire extension cord.
Sounds like you're using the same contractor that Paul's using.
Yeah. Well, you have to save money where you can. We're getting our package right now for put that building up. And it's going to be, like I said, 32 by 36. It's going to be 16 foot high. Trusses are sitting on the yard right now, and we're waiting for the package to be delivered. Hopefully, when Stephen gets back from his vacation, we will start building. And we should be in our building probably no later than August. So I'm still looking for a wood miser so we can build our own packages, and hopefully we can pass on some more savings to more people. And Stephen's up to about 500 and some hives at 1 yard right now, plus his other yards with his mini nukes. The biggest problem we're finding down here right now with the heat is the small hive beetles. If the hive gets a little bit weak, they are taking them over. And then we have another major problem. We have coons, possums, and the coons are as big as some house dogs. He caught one in a package in a live trap, and he tried everything. He finally caught it on a Twinkie, and then he caught a possum on a honey bun. And he's working, trying to catch some skunks now with sardines. So he's very humane. He takes them down the road, and it probably takes them 5-6 miles. And I keep telling them, they're just going to return. Find somebody that needs a pet. But I hope people is working their hives and checking them. I notice right now that the bees are bringing a little bit in, but we're still feeding. And you got to go through those hives, check them. One thing we're finding right now with the hot weather, this is extremely hot and wet, is the temperature was 95, and we had whole frames, it collapsed in the hive, because we're on natural comb, and the comb is not old enough. If you keep it, a year or two, you build up cocoons, and then, it's stronger. But the outlay and the turnover is too fast here, so we're probably going to have to start interwinding a little bit of plastic in there to hold them up. I hope everybody else is not having them same problems.
Okay, first up we got Todd with a question. Let's see, got to unmute it, Todd, then you're good to go.
Good afternoon, or good evening, actually. Quick question, I'm just thinking out of the box here, and it's already kind of too late for me to do this, but if a guy had double deeps and he's taking it, opening them up, taking the top off, the top deep off, during the time when there's early buildup and that hive is building or that queen's laying drones, and they start developing, when you open that top box up or take it off, you're splitting those cells. If a guy wanted to wet graft, could he use the royal jelly that's in there?
You could, but we find that we get a lot better take if you just buy the royal jelly.
Okay.
I mean, there's people that'll tell you all kind of stuff out there. I've heard people using yogurt. I've heard of people double dipping them. I've heard of just about everything. Dry grafting, double grafting. You buy the royal jelly. We buy a small container, and we can knock out 500 to 1,000 cells a week, and the jar will last us 6 months. I made the mistake about 10 years ago of buying one from a bee supply place. It was, I think it was a 16-ounce container, and you have to keep it frozen, and you thaw out a little at a time. 50% if you're going to graft. Can't use it straight.
Okay. All right. I was just thinking that. So.
But if you're running
That's it.
double deeps, if you do a 5-frame starter box, you can use less bees and still get a good graft.
That's true. I'm not using the double deep for grafting. I was just thinking, you know, when I have a couple double deeps, 8-framers that I'll take that top box off in early spring, and I've got that, you know, mess everywhere. So I didn't know if I could use it or not.
Well, it depends on what your plans and which way you're trying to go. The only time we run double deeps is when we have our yard set up for shaking.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of bees in there, and it's a lot of bees to have to fool with. And it's a lot of lifting. So if you run in 100 hives, it gets heavy lifting that box off to find the queen.
Yeah, it does.
So, you know, we have to set everything up for time. Save a little time here, a little bit there, and it adds up at the end of the day.
Yep. All right, well, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Over to Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Don, I have a question. When I open my hives up and I reach over to pick out a frame, I always have, and this is on a few hives, I have like 20 bees just go right from my hands. And
Are you wearing gloves?
I'm wearing gloves. Yeah, thank God I'm wearing gloves because they'd sting the heck out of me.
If you took your gloves off, put a drop or two of liquid smoke on there, and then move your hands across that hive, they're not going to attack you. They smell the pheromones. Actually, 15, 20 years ago, the picture that's on my webpage was taken with a professor that come down from one of the colleges, and he was wearing gloves, and he couldn't figure out why he was getting stung. And I put my face on a beehive, and the bees come boiling out. That's the picture. It's on my webpage. And I said, now take your gloves and drag them across the same hive. And he was running down the yard. They was chasing him so bad. So even washing those gloves, I don't think you're going to get that pheromones out.
So get
Try
liquid.
wearing those nitrile gloves if you have to wear gloves, and see if that will help. You either have aggressive queens in there, or you might have bad stock. But usually you can move fairly quick with your hands across the top frames without them stinging you.
Yeah, because I open a few of these hives up and they're right at me.
Are you smoking the entrance before you open the hive up?
No.
Just smoking a little bit from the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't smoke from the entrance anymore because I don't want to push the bees up.
Yeah. That's what common mistake most people do. They smoke the entrance, and then by the time they lift the lid up, they're right up the top coming at you.
So you think I should put liquid smoke on the gloves, or?
Well, I used to teach students to put it on their hands to catch queens. It seems to help. And I know there's people that no matter what you do, the bees, they can just pick up that you're afraid of them.
All right, I'll try it. I'll try with the nitrile gloves there and see how I make out.
You don't need gloves, Paul. I go gloveless every time.
Oh, yeah?
No, that's the best thing I ever did was throw out those leather gloves. You kill more bees, they get more upset. You can't feel what the hell you're doing. If I know I'm going to get sticky with the honey or something like that, I will wear the nitrile gloves. But 9 times out of 10, I'm gloveless.
I'll have to give it a shot.
You will notice a huge difference in their attitude.
You can go to Harbor Freight and they have these bulk packs. There's 100 in a bulk pack, and they're really cheap.
Yeah.
And what do you recommend? The 4 mil?
Well, just get the nitrile gloves.
It says 5 mil.
The thinner they are, the better you can feel with.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to give it a shot.
You're still going to get stung with the nitrile, but the stingers won't stick in you as easily.
Yeah.
Another thing, if you're going to catch queens, if you could take a couple drops of that liquid smoke, rub it on your hands good, then rub it all over your face and neck. The bees won't seem to bother you at all. You'll smell smoky for a while, but it helps.
It'll smell like a brisket by the time you're done in the yard.
Yeah. All right, thanks. I'm going to give it a shot.
All right. Take some video. We want to see that.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody, let's see, over to, where is she? There she is. Go ahead, Pat. Unmute.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Good to see you. Yeah, we put liquid smoke in a spray bottle, and from about the 1st of May till mid-September, that's all I use instead of a smoker. It's the smell of smoke. It works really well. Put it on your hands. It keeps them calm. If you breathe too much smoker, after a while, it can start to get to you, especially I got allergies and stuff. But that liquid smoke in the spray bottle, if they get out of hand, you can spray your gloves, and I mist around my face and stuff, and it calms them down.
Do you spray on top of the hive before you open it or anything?
We lift the lid and spritz lightly and then put the lid down for a minute. They're just looking for that smell. You're not trying to wet the bees. You're just trying to get that smell of smoke. And it works. You don't have to actually have smoke. The smell is enough. Unless you're pulling honey supers. When you're pulling honey supers, light your smoker.
Yeah.
Unless you're running the Ross rounds.
Yeah, because you don't want to
Even
smoke.
made that mistake, and the Ross rounds will smell of barbecue, and it's hard to market them.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
better off to do your one-way entrances on those. Your bee escapes.
Okay. All right. Nobody else has any questions right now. We need filler here. Ernest, you got a question? Unmute it. You got to unmute. Or hold the space bar if you're on your computer. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I tried the Ross rounds this year and they worked real good. Didn't use a queen excluder. I just got two, I think he's two 5-frame high deeps.
Yeah.
And put it on top of that, and they drawed it right out, filled it up, and I took it off and I put it back on again. And I set another box on top of it, and they kindly jumped over the Ross round. So I took that off yesterday, and I made 5 splits out of that honey that they put up there. So I got the Ross rounds right on top now. So
What are you planning on selling your Ross rounds for?
$15.
Yeah. They're worth every penny of that.
Yeah, people don't seem to mind.
I'll tell you one trick that I learned is people don't like goldenrod. If you take goldenrod, put it in a hive top feeder, or if you use some bucket feeders, put it in a bucket feeder uncut. Put it on top of your hive. They will draw that stuff out super fast. The comb is super white, and you get a premium price for that stuff that people say, nah, it's no good.
Yeah. But they're doing good. I'm making lots of splits this year. So.
Well, this is the time to do it now. Remember, I had a chat before about the solstice. When the solstice happens, the queen thinks it's springtime. So whenever you make new queens that time of the year, they seem to be more energetic.
Yeah, I did your trick of putting the queen cell in a frame of honey, and I wasn't too sure if they'd all went to it, and I popped the lid up today, and there they were hanging on that queen cell.
Yep.
So
The
and I
trick
did that
that I
down
put out there is so simple. Everybody will shake their head and say, nope, can't work.
I did that down the drain trick of yours, and that worked good too. And I
That's great
found
for finding queens if you can't.
I found the queen too. It was on the thing, and I picked
Yeah.
her up and put her back in the original hive. Now that saves a lot of time trying to set a box up in front of another hive. You know, you just go right down the line.
Right. That's the whole purpose of these chats, to try to pass on information, because everybody thinks it's all top secret. I mean, it's just hard work, common sense, and you could be very successful.
Yeah, well, it went real fast. I was well pleased with that. So I'll probably be doing that all the time. Because I went to the commercial lids with the hole in them, and that way they're already drilled. And then I used some other lids that telescopic. I drilled those and made them so I could put feeders. So that just makes it perfect to put that on top and shake it off in there. And like you say, they spread out. They spread out all over that whole thing and start fanning their wings. And
it's very
I
fast
got a
if you're
scoop
setting
of
up
them
five
to get them
frame
started
boxes.
down in there. But once I get them started down in the hole, then the other ones just tend to follow.
Yeah. It saves you so much time looking for that queen. Now, what we do is we set the 5-frame box down. We get it all ready. Go there, put our cell and everything in there. And then we put an 8-frame lid over the top. You put your 5-frame lid over your nuke the right way, and then you turn your upside down lid, which would be an 8-frame, and just line your holes up. You can do it with a 5-frame lid, but most people, when they first start to learn to shake, they scatter the bees. Once you start to learn how to shake bees, you can direct them into a 5-frame nuke lid very easy. It's just practice, practice.
Yeah, well, that went real good for me. So I'll be making a lot more splits with the honey, and that way I get rid of the honey.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's hard to get off of the hives. I get so much of it in there.
Now you know why I'm all the time grumbling about have to lift that weight up.
Yep. Okay, that's all I have for now.
Okay.
Dennis, did you have a question? You had your hand up.
Oh, nothing important.
It's always important.
I was just going to ask you, I tried the Ross rounds this year. Put it on one hive, almost equal to the other one. They just honey bound themselves, slipped it over to the other hive, and boy, it looks like it's almost capped off. I don't know what the difference was. They'd draw out regular foundation, but they wouldn't touch that one. So you ever notice that?
Sometimes that happens in a bee yard. You might have one or two. You might try spraying the Ross rounds down with a little sugar water or syrup or even honey to encourage them to come up through it. And then make sure that you have the spacing on your frames tight together. If you get too wide of spacing, they'll make too much burr comb, less likely to go up into that Ross rounds. And then watch your distance from the top of the frame to the next super of your Ross rounds. You don't want to get it past 3/4. Stay right at 3/8 or less.
Okay, I'll have to look at that. I never even thought about that. They should be 3/8, but that might be something I overlooked. So
Now, when you're making your Ross round supers, you know they're a little bit, the outside diameter is the same as a standard 5-frame. The inside diameter is a little shorter, and it's a little shorter in height. So if you pick a super up or a 5-frame box, by the end, there's handles on it, but everybody reaches down inside and they pick it up with their thumb. If you break that lip off where the frame rest goes, it's useless. But if you take your table saw and cut that lip off and then drop the bottom down and cut it to 5 inches. Then the Ross rounds fit in there, and you can recycle that box that you had no more use for into a Ross round.
They look like they're just about capped. If finally, we got April and May over with, nothing but rain and cold. And I'm out of frames. I've got to, I got boxes, but I'm out of frames. So we'll see what happens. I'm pulling out some of this mixed honey I've got in syrup and cutting it out and letting them draw it out to keep them all content and keeping some of it to feed back to them. My honey yards I'm ahead on, but that way they just don't.
Try different suppliers for frames. They should be getting them back in now.
Well, I always use Man Lake. They've been a little bit slow, but they've been good. The frames have been good. I haven't tried anybody else.
Try Julie. She's a distributor for Man Lake. Tell her you're one of my students. I know for a fact that some of my students have called her, and she put them at the top of the list and got their stuff out very quick.
Well, I'll do that.
It's worth a try.
What's her name? Julie?
Julie Norman. She runs Winding Way Bee Supply. It's a Man Lake distributor in Houston.
I'll try that. They've run a little behind. I think they had a machine down and then this nonsense. But normally, now I'd say I'm running behind. I get my stuff about 4 days, no matter what. Some folks been complaining, but they've been good to me.
Yeah.
But they're a little slow right now. They may be picking up, but I've never had any problems. I got Dedant within an hour and a half of me, but some of their frames aren't as good as Man Lake, so I just quit using them.
Yeah, that's the trouble with a lot of different ones. And I've mentioned it before. You take 3 different suppliers, you buy their frames today, you buy extra parts. Next year, if you buy more frames, they're not interchangeable, even from the same manufacturer. But Man Lake is pretty much standard. You know, I've got frames, parts that I've ordered, 2 or 3 years ago. They still fit. We try to buy at least a minimum order of 1,000 frames at a time because we get a better price, and you don't have to worry about running out. Because once you get your numbers up, some people think 100 frames is a lot, but we might pick up 200 frames to go out to the bee yard to make splits with in one day.
Yeah, I used 800 of them up right off the bat. And I've cut through, and I'm still got some others that I'm cleaning up, and we're getting by. But
I remember the first time you talked, and you was telling me about all them nukes. You said you got more than enough.
I've still got a little left, but I'm gonna have to order. They're working me to death, but I like it. We finally got some flow on. It's going well, and sales are good. But doing real well. I can't complain. I appreciate it.
You should sell everything you have your hands on right now.
What I do right now, I'm caught up on the queens. I have I quit selling the nukes. I'm building up. I want next year to be up a little bigger. Problem with me is I seen that money. I've sold out quite a bit.
That's the thing I keep telling people when they come take classes. The hardest thing to learn is NO. I don't have no more.
Well, NO is working right now. So we're just building numbers. So hopefully next year we'll just do this full time.
Only takes a year.
Plan A.
You can do it.
Plan A, but we're supposed to be in this year, but a few complications. We'll try it again next year, but it's doing real well.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your help.
All right, over to Linda Webster. Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, Don. I want to tell you, I had a swarm last week, and I was home at the time and saw it, so we caught it and put it back into a box. And what I did, it was on a tree branch that was super, super high, and my husband had to get up there with a limb saw and cut the limb and dropped it down. And we laid a 5-frame nuke on the ground right near that swarm, and they just climbed up into that box. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. But I got them then over to my permanent box, put them in a 10-frame deep. But should I be feeding them? Because I didn't. They've been there about a week now, and they seem to be doing okay, but I'm not feeding them. And should I be?
I would put some feed on it. You put new foundation in?
I had some drawn out comb and some comb that had a little bit of honey I put in there.
I would give them about 10 days and then I would transfer them. But now, once you see them going into that 5-frame box,
Uh-huh.
I explained the whole situation several times. Move it back from the bees. So let them start to climbing and just keep moving it back 6 inches at a time. And they'll just stretch out like a long train.
Yeah.
And then if you got multiple queens in there, you could catch 4 or 5 other queens usually.
Okay. I didn't notice that. They just marched in there like little soldiers. It was pretty cool.
They'll do it until, all the queens get in there, then they start to fight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also I was going to tell Dennis, I've got an order coming in from Man Lakes. I ordered last week, supposed to be here Tuesday. And I had tried to order from Dedant and they said 3 weeks before I could get anything. So they were running a lot high or further behind the Man Lake on frames. That's all I have.
Gotta
Really.
get your orders in early.
Yeah. But my hives are doing great. I've got up to 9 now, and I went through them the other day, and I've got all 10 frame double deeps, and they're so heavy I can't even lift them. So I'm going to have to start pulling frames and putting new ones in. I'm afraid they're going to get honey bound.
Well, when you had that swarm, I would have went through all your hives, all the way down to the bottom board, because the more than likely one of your hives swarmed. And now you can have after swarms. They'll swarm 2 or 3 different times.
Oh.
So if you got queen cells in there, just take the frame. If you don't want to cut it, and move it to another box, and then shake some bees in it and make a split.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Dennis, do you have something to add to that, or?
Yeah, Linda, you know why I like one Man Lake, and I don't get paid for any of this advertisement, but I like the free shipping. It don't take much to get over $100 bill.
Yeah.
Free shipping, and the quality is pretty good. I've tried Western Bee, Dedant, Kelly. Now, Kelly's not too bad, but I'm not promoting one over the other. But Man Lake's always been good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if they stay good to me, I'll stay with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kelly is owned by Man Lake now, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think it is. I think they bought it out.
Oh.
Okay, well, I may have to check. Didn't Better Bee and West, didn't they go out of business?
Brushy went out.
Brushy, all right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But I've tried a few of them. They seem a little slow. Man Lake gets right onto it. They almost know me by name. I call up there, so. All right, thank you.
And let's see, no other questions right now. Gonna have to start calling people soon. Let's see, we haven't heard from David and Tracy Grimm in a while. How about an update?
Okay.
There you go.
Hey, Dylan, how are you doing?
Hi.
How are your bees doing?
They're doing great. Ever since we've had our trip out to Georgia, I guess it was in May. Everything's going great, and our hives. It's amazing. You talk about gloves, Paul. We don't use gloves at all, and our bees are they're like Don's bees now. They're just so gentle and nice to work with, and yet we also kind of know that if you move too fast, then they seem to not like that anyway. You get bumped a little bit. So we try to go the speed of the bees, and that seems to work pretty good. But yeah, we're marching on. And as you know, earlier this week, Don, we're almost 150 hives, and we're marching on still and grafting every 10 days or so. So that's going well.
And you started with how many hives?
We were low 30s to start in March.
Wow.
Then we bought a bunch of.
Yeah, we had some packages. We brought in
packages.
a lot of queens, and then we've been making a lot of queens and splitting. It seemed like every week, and so it's been going great. And of course, we're gonna go back again to see Don this fall or later summer. But
Camp at the southern yard.
Sorry.
Camp out at the southern yard. It's 6 acres there. You can camp there.
We could get a tent and just get out there and watch the stars.
I got my camper down there now. That's what I'm staying in all the time down there. See, I bought a property down there. It's got a house on it. It's an old farmhouse, and we're using it as a workshop. We graft there, and I got a couple that we pay full time, so they stay there to keep an eye on stuff. And we're expanding out, so by the time you come down, we'll be up to 500 hives at that location.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I think when we were there in May, we had about 2.5 days with you, but you were right in the middle of the growth, and it was growing faster. But I mean, I think just everything Don teaches, it's true. It's great common sense, and it works fast. And we're still learning a ton, but it's been great to us, and Don's been great to us too. And Don, I was going to ask you, I guess with building wax for comb, if you're we do have some comb we're building in nukes right now for sale, so that seems to be working pretty well. Do you still try to feed sugar water to stimulate the comb growth?
During the summer.
We're trying to feed mostly year round. We're not trying to produce honey. And when they're producing honey, they won't take the syrup. See, we're focused on making bees, not honey. And
Yeah.
when we do sell the honey, we got to where we're doing it in 5-gallon and 55s, because it just takes too much time for that market of a quart here or a pint there, because they want to buy a quart of honey and 3 hours training for you. So they want to ask you all these questions, and when you got people coming and going in a commercial business, you just don't have the time. You'd like to, but you just can't.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, and I think for us, we've shifted most of our hives into bee production now. So we're doing that, and we're transitioning more out of the other. So over the next year, we'll probably be mostly bees. But
You'll still produce too much honey, I'm telling you. But
Yeah.
people say they want to make honey. You'll have more honey than you know what to do with.
that's true. Yeah. No,
See,
good.
once you get to a certain point, then you got to buy a loader, and then you got to buy a barrel grapple to move the barrels, because they're 700-800 pounds a piece. And even 5-gallon buckets is 64 pounds or 66 pounds per bucket. And when you get a bucket in each hand and have to stack 40 or 50 of them in a room, it takes up time, it takes up, space, everything.
Not to mention the wear and tear on your back, right, Don?
Right. Yep.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for the update, guys.
You bet.
All right. Over to Clay has a question. Go ahead, Clay. Yeah, can't hear you. Got nothing. Oh, wait a minute. Speak louder. I thought I just heard something. Nope, nothing. I guess we'll come back to you. Or type me your question, then I'll ask Don. Okay, let's see. Anybody else? Nobody else? Over to David. Go ahead, David. You have to, there you go.
Yeah. I just, I ain't got no question, but I just letting everybody know that I seen a strange thing yesterday in my, one of my out yards. I've been staying on top of it, doing splits and all, but where this come from, I don't know, but an old hive that I had just sitting out there, I looked under the bottom, and there was a swarm there starting to build comb and everything. So even when you out in the yard, you might want to look under your stand every once in a while. You never know what you might find. Why? I just put them in the box and went back, checked them today, and they stayed in there. So it's just odd you see that sometimes. Good shout out to Don there. I've been doing a lot of them one frame splits. I think I done about 30 or 40 yesterday before I finally got tired and had to come to the house. Weather's starting to get real good here. I am having some of that trouble you was talking about. Some of the honey frames are getting too hot. Most of mine are in the shade area, but there's still a few of them getting sunlight that seem like they're starting to fall a little bit. So I just started just putting down either just wax strip or no wax at all in there, just putting the frames in. Of course, heavy this time of year. You can go back a couple of days and they'll have a half of a deep frame pulled out. I mean, they're rocking right now, and like I said, I'm doing about 10 to 20 splits easy every day, if not a little bit more. So just thought I'd let you know that, and then moved some, tried different things. I did move some parent hives and put a queen cell in there, let the scouts come back. I mean, you can do that. That's a quick, easy way. Like if you wanted to go from a 5 frame and start an 8 frame with that, you could, you know. I done a few that way to get me some resources. So, you know, just everything Don teaches you, it definitely worked. I mean, you better be on your toes and have a whole lot built, because I'm starting to run out of boxes again and frames, so I'm gonna have to go call Man Lake, I guess, and start getting orders in. That's all I got.
Well, the whole technique that I'm trying to teach is simplicity. And people, for the last 15, 20 years, when I start talking about it, they'll throw their hands up. This can't work. So when I get 20, 30 students get on a check and they're telling you put 1 frame in there and it's working, and they're going from a few hives to several hundred in a short period of time, there's no BS about it. It's fact. I'm teaching what I learned by trial and error over years. And, you know, there's nobody out there that's even coming close to teaching you how to get into business basically by yourself.
Yeah.
They want to keep the greed to themselves, I guess. But there's enough business out there for everybody that wants to get into business and make a good living at it. If you get up 100 to 200 hives, you have a very good living coming in. And the chat is another way to advertise your web page, that you're a student, that you got my stock. You can't get any better advertising. And for the little bit of what it costs you to get on here, I mean, you can find out what people are doing all over the country.
Yeah, I'm also starting to get, I guess, because my hives, you know, I started out with 4 and 25 packages from you, and I'm starting to get my backyard lined out, and people are driving by. I've had 2 people stop. They're hobbyists wanting to get into it, and I guess they seen all them hives, and of course they come up and ask if I would, you know, come. One wants me to come to his yard, and another one wants to come out to my yard and show them some things about the bees, you know, because they said some of the local clubs, they just get, they either don't tell them or they tell them a bunch of wrong things, and they've been losing hives. And which I'd be proud to show them and tell them, but you know, I try to tell them that, you know, get on Don the Fat Bee Man's YouTube. I mean, you'll learn a whole lot from him. But I mean, I kind of enjoy that too. You know, people doing, you know, wanting to come up and learn bees, and I'm be proud to tell them, you know.
Okay. We're going to try Clay again. Let's see here. If not, he's going to type me his question. It lit up like it was going to do something. Yell. No, got nothing.
Maybe his headset's not plugged in.
Well, I can see him unmuting it, so it's got, should be working. You're unmuted. Nothing. Let's see. His question was, he's got 9 hives. He wants to move to 12 in Austin, Texas. Would you recommend using virgin queens or queen cells?
I'd use queen cells if you're going to risk a virgin. Queen cells is going to be a whole lot cheaper. But personally, in Austin, if I was there, I wouldn't take a chance on open mating. I would buy mated queens.
Just because of Africanized?
Bees.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Over to Patricia. Go ahead, Pat. Unmute. You got to unmute.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. My iPad doesn't pop up as quick as y'all's computer does. The guy that was just talking about his bees and people stopping by his bee yard, Don said something a couple of years ago, and it really stuck with me. David, don't give away your information, but also don't give away your time, because people will stop by and absolutely waste your time. Make an appointment, tell them all you want to, spend all the time you want to, but try to get away from people just dropping by. First of all, it might just be snooping, but the biggest thing is it's a time waster. So we schedule them for a certain day of the month. I have people open field day, people can come, that kind of thing. But yeah, Don said charge and don't give away information and don't let them waste your time.
Yeah, I mean, they stop and I told them, one time I was working my yard, and I said, well, look, he wanted me to come to his yard. And I said, well, we'll have to schedule that because I can't do it today. And then the other guy, he wants to come out. And I said, look, give me a call like the night before or something and let me know. Because right now, since I'm just starting out, I've got a little bit of time. Of course, they keep splitting like they're doing here lately. Ain't going to have a whole lot of time. But,
yeah. But it's good to, it's good to teach new beekeepers and to help people, but just watch the time wasting because people like to chit chat. And, if Don spent all of his time talking to his visitors, he wouldn't get no work done at all. Because I'm one of the freeloaders. We stopped by and visited and chit chatted. And then it dawned on me, I was like, I've been spending all this time talking and it was wonderful. I learned so much in an hour. But, it's the same thing with people stopping by your place. Schedule them to come back when it's convenient for you, or schedule a day a month that you want an open field day where people can stop and you can help people get information that way too.
Or give classes.
Yeah. They offered to pay, they said, whatever I'd want to charge. I mean, they didn't have no, set limit. It's like, hey, they
So
really.
if you go to their yard, definitely charge them. Don't go to somebody's yard for free.
No.
Because, you'll be spending all your time running around I get people call me up and they go, well, I lifted the lid and I didn't see any bees. I don't think I have bees. Well, they haven't done an inspection since they got the bees. They're just looking for somebody else to come do the work. So definitely charge if you go to them.
Oh, yeah. And of course, I'm kind of thinking if I can kind of do like Don, get them to come here and let them do the work. And I just sit and if they're doing wrong. I mean, I really like that concept right there, that Tom Sawyer effect.
He's brave. I've never found any that could walk in and go to work right away the way I wanted them to work.
Yeah.
You have to teach them.
Well,
Yeah.
you got to be.
You got to teach them first.
You need a box dedicated for a seat.
Yeah.
That's once you're a master. You don't get that until you're a master.
I'm not a master yet.
All right, let's see. Nobody else? Let's see. Who can I pick on next if I don't have questions up? Oh, Jeff, you have a question?
Statement.
Okay.
Let's see. Am I muted or unmuted?
No, go ahead. I just heard you.
Oh, okay, great. No, I just wanted to pass along Dawn to Steve. Thanks for that. I got 2 queens from him this week and got them in there. Made a split and also took care of 1 hive that was floundering. So they look like they've taken to them. So we'll see how they do. But
right. Okay.
That's all I had to say.
Most people I keep telling them, my son, he carries a cell phone. Don does not text, don't know how, don't carry a cell phone. So it's like now I'm down in the boonies and I have to go to McDonald's to get a hotspot. So I haven't even checked emails since Wednesday. So if you need to get a hold of somebody for bees or queens or something, get a hold of my son. He carries a cell phone. Now, some of his locations are in low areas. He don't get a signal. So keep trying. If he has queens, he'll ship them out to you.
Okay. Oh, let's see. No other questions. Who can I pick on next?
Brett has to tell us what he's doing up there in New Jersey. Yeah.
Where is he? Brett?
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
That one package has turned into 30 nukes, so that's pretty good. I just sold my first guard bees. So a guy bought a nuke of bees that he's going to put on a fire escape in New York City to keep the people from coming into his apartment. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Nice.
Making queens like crazy. We're just plugging along. I actually ran out of frames and had to take some frames that were full of nectar and spin them out just so they had a place to lay.
Just think if you come down and spend 2 solid weeks with me, what you'd be doing?
The same thing, working. I'll be down there probably in September.
Okay.
Nice. Now, are you just using Don's methods for doing splits and raising queens?
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice.
A lot of grafting.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Looks like Todd's got a question. Go ahead, Todd. Unmute it.
Hey Don, what do you take into consideration when it's hot and you're raising queens or grafting? Is there some extra step that you do in hot weather?
You drink a lot of water.
But other than that, you don't worry about it. The bees take care of it and all that.
Well, if you got enough bees in there, they're going to keep the hive to the right temperature.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Use your cell builders, white hives or real light colored ones. Kind of keep them in a semi-shaded area.
Yeah.
Your production hives, you can run them out. The ones that we got are dark forest green or a blue. They're bearding right now. I mean, they got a pretty good beard on all of them. The lighter colored ones, they seem to keep the temperature down a lot better.
Okay. Yeah, when I do have queens going, I have them in the shade, so I don't have any right now going. I might start perking up again, but you know, it gets up to 100 and I don't know, 104 and 105 this week. So I haven't tried it when it's been that hot.
Well, if you get everything ready, I go out and I'll work 10 or 15 or 20 hives. And I was working about 12 today, and then I'd go in, I'd take a water break, cut cells out, walk out, and then drop the cells in. It takes me usually about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I'd try to get another 10 or 15 ready. I go through them, get them all set when I have to put cells in or make my split, go take another water break, come out and do it. I just break my time up a little bit more.
Yeah.
The cooler, I can work longer hours and more steadier, but as you get older, you got to take more breaks.
Yeah. I usually start at 6 when it's only 70 degrees.
Yeah.
But, compared to what you go through over there, you have a lot of humidity. Over here, humid is, 20%.
Mm-hmm.
That people are going crazy and saying it's humid. So.
Tell them to come see me and show them what humid is.
Yeah. I know a little bit of humidity. I lived in Missouri for 5 years, so I've had a taste of that. I don't mind it, but people around here don't like it. All right, that's all. Thank you.
All right, over to Ernest. Go ahead, Ernest.
Yeah, I'm trying something new. I don't know where it'll work, Don, but I have my cell builder is 8 frame deep. And my son, he grafted 2 frames. And I thought, well, I'll just try 2 more. So I get 26 on a frame. So it's 104. I'm just trying this. You think you'll draw those out? I put
on an 8 frame,
sub on it, and also I put feed on them.
Yeah, they should do it. We use a standard frame, and we put 3 bars on it. And the spacing is about 2 or 2.5 inches. And I don't know if you've seen our grafting frames, but you can build them up yourself out of regular scrap, 3/4 wood, and just 3/4 all the way around. Put your little pieces in there for your bars to rest on. Try to make them all at one time so that they're exactly the same. That way, all your bars are interchangeable, especially when you got 100 graft frames. But we put 15 cells on a bar. We'll put 3 bars to the frame, 2 frames to a box. So that's 90 on a regular basis. Now, springtime on a heavy feed up, and when there's a lot of pollen coming in there, we can run about 90 to 120, maybe 125 on a 5 frame box.
Oh, it's a 5 frame, not an 8 frame, man, that you're doing this on.
Well, if you do them early in the springtime, a 5 frame box, if you crowd them, they can build the heat up a lot faster in there. The 8 frame, we start switching over to 8 frame cell builders, usually about the middle or the 3rd week of March. But 26 cells is nothing on a bar, on a frame. You want to space them out about the width of your finger. And I don't know if you watched how we build our bars up. Get your wax hot with a 1-inch paintbrush. Get a little cheap paintbrush with a little electric skillet, and you paint the bar. You put about 8 or 10 good coats on there, and then when you attach your queen cell, then you put a drop of wax on there, or you can take the paintbrush and paint a little bit on each side to hold them in place. That way, when you lay your knife on there, I sit down at the table and I put the bar right at my chest, and I use the knife like a draw knife, and I lay it on the table and I pull one stroke right to me, and all the cells come off at one time. But now, before you do that, take your knife and just cut down between each cell. That way, when you do cut them, they come apart, and there's a little square tab at the bottom that rests on top of your frame, and they don't drop down in there. It's the easiest way to mount and to take your cells off.
I use those JCBC cups, and they tend to work pretty good for me.
Well, everybody starts out using those, but they end up going to the natural. By the time that you go to pull 2 or 3 of those off, we cut 6 bars off. It takes about 3 seconds to lay that knife at the end of the bar and pull it to you. And boom, they're all off. I mean, it sounds silly, but you do a bunch of those bars and you're wasting a lot of time. And then, your wax cells are going to be accepted a lot better. But, the JB, those are good. You can use the Chinese grafting needle, and you can basically stab the cell and it ain't going to hurt nothing. Natural, you got to be careful you don't poke a hole in the bottom.
Yeah, well, the last JCBC grafting things, I got half of them has the plastic plunger, and the other half has bamboo. So I don't know where it makes any difference or not, but the bamboo seems to work a lot smoother.
Well, there's a lot of ways you can adapt those things to you. Some people like to sand them with 600 paper. I like the steel one, or make out of your copper wire, or paper clip. I like steel because that way, when you take the larva off, you can set it down in the wax and draw back on it, and the larva floats off real good. Where with the Chinese, you got to push it off, and you can injure the larva, or you can flip it. If you flip it over, you're not going to get good takes.
No, every one you flip over, you lose.
Yep.
They drown.
Yep. I had a student about 3 weeks ago, and I ain't going to call no names out, but we showed him how to graft, and he turned around. He says, "I just cut that larva in half. You think it'll be okay?" And I just shook my head. Why would you ask a question like that?
Because it's like a worm. It'll reproduce in a tumor, right?
Yeah.
I had the red things.
But, you get exposed to a lot of things when you're teaching. So there's a lot of people who will ask you a lot of things that are kind of silly. After a while, you sort it out.
Okay. Is that it, Ernest?
Well, that's it for now.
Okay. Let's see. Over to Patricia again. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, this is for Todd. The thing with your hives being in the heat, there's some research out there that shows that too much heat on the queens can reduce their production for a while, and once the heat's over, they'll come back from it. But I'm in the middle of a field. I don't have any trees. I wish I had a nice piney grove like Don does, but I'm in the middle of an open field, so it gets real hot. And one thing that we did for when we're out there working is I got one of those pop-up awnings, and I got really big wheels from Lowe's and put them on wheels, and we start at one end and roll on through the bee yard as we work. And it's a little bit of shade goes a long ways on a 100-degree day.
Oh, I'm not too worried about the heat. I'm fine with the heat. My question was.
You're still young.
My question was a cell builder, and when it's hot, even though I have the cell builder in the shade, I don't know how much that heat is affecting them inside. I know they can control the temperature, but if I don't have enough bees in there, they're going to have a harder time.
They're going to have a harder time for sure, especially when you get above 100.
Yeah, which I don't like grafting this time of year because it's just too hot. And then I have to worry about dragonflies, blue jays. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't end, you know, it
Yeah.
just keeps going.
Well, with the hot temperatures, you shouldn't have any mites, that's for sure.
I wish. No,
Say.
that's a
Doesn't
myth.
work that
Unless it's
way.
120. Yeah, then maybe that'll work.
All right, we're gonna try Clay again. Let's see. Go ahead, Clay. Unmute. Nothing. Yeah. Okay. You typed me one question. So Clay wants to know how to flood the area with the genetics.
Buy a lot of queens, good queens. And then once you get the good queens, throw you some green comb in there.
The drone comb.
Yep.
And just let them go. That's all they're going to raise, and let it go. Like how many would you do per yard?
Well, normally we usually, if you run a yard of 100 in their production hives, you want to run about 6 or 8, and we put one drone comb on each side of the hive. So we have abundant. Mating yards, you might want to use a little more.
Okay. All right, Todd, you have another question?
Yeah, my memory was just jogged about the queens and the genetics. So if I have, like for instance, right now I have a hive with a queen that's raising really gentle bees. I mean, I could probably bend down and kiss the top of the frames and not be bothered at all. But she did take kind of a break, probably a natural brood break because of the heat. She does have a lot of drones capped. There's no, I mean, there's plenty of room in there, and she's not a drone layer. I checked when I saw her this morning, she had started back up. She's laying worker cell eggs again. But in this case, if you had a queen that was basically a drone, well, kind of on the edge of being a drone layer, but had super gentle bees, would you let that queen go to laying and flood the area with those drones?
First thing I believe I would do is change some of the foundation. You probably got a lot of stretched cells in there, or irregular ones.
And there is some drone. Yeah, there is some drone, but there was plenty of worker areas for her to lay too.
Well, they like to lay in a circle and keep the, you know, the thing. So it depends on the temperature. If you got good hot weather, if they're laying a scattered pattern right now, that's a good indication you got a lot of mites in there.
Oh,
But,
yeah, no.
you know, you can always cut that drone comb out. Take and set it up. If you're running doubles, set it at the top, and when they fill it with honey, take your knife and just cut out the drone cells and set the comb out and let them just clean it out and melt it down. They'll draw back what they're going to use. If they're doing workers, they're going to make workers in there. We cut a lot of comb out like that to call out too much.
But would you allow a hive that's got that situation going on with gentle bees to let those drones, you know, hatch and move out?
Well, not all the time is those drones going to mate with your queens. You never know what drones is going to mate with your queens.
Yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't get rid of a queen that has gentle bees. I would change out the foundation and try to get you more workers, you know, producing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. If nobody else has any more questions, it is 9 o'clock, so we will call it. Going once, going twice. And that's a wrap for tonight. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Don. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you for having us.